Hi, everybody, and welcome to Pop Therapy, a podcast where we explore the intersection between psychology and pop culture. There's so much to unpack. So let's get started. Well, if it isn't my favorite listener. Hi, welcome back, everybody. So I'm just going to dive right in. I have a couple of thoughts that I wanted to share with everyone. Number one, hot takes. If you are hoping for me to offer you hot takes, you've come to the wrong place. I actually do not find hot takes all that interesting most of the time. If it comes to like a movie or something and you just watched it, or like a song you just heard, like I'm a little less precious about that. But we just live in this age of information coming at us so fast. And I can feel the sense of urgency and the pressure to provide a hot take, to say something immediately. And I think one of the issues that I'm noticing is that with hot takes often comes some version of like a running it back afterwards, or like revisiting that hot take and being like, whoops, sorry about that. Like, or, you get new information and your take is going to change. Or I see people doubling down on the hot take because because they feel like they have to. They said it, so they double down on it. And it's a bad hot take. So feel free to like take your time processing things, especially with this version of our news cycle, meaning between social media and television and all media platforms, the 24-hour news cycle, this version of it where you're getting like breaking news every 2 seconds. Feel free to take your time processing it. Feel free to say to yourself, you know what? I need more information. I have a lot of questions. I'm not sure what the hell is going on. I need a little bit more information. And so one of the things that I'm going to commit to doing is providing very, very, very few hot takes, if any. Again, if the stakes are low enough, like, I don't know, if a new color comes out, I can give you my hot take on that. I don't really care. The stakes are so low. But when it comes to more serious things or more meaningful things, I'm going to hold back. All right. I'm going to like sit back. So if something happens and you're thinking to yourself, oh, I wonder what Omar thinks, he hasn't said anything about it yet. It is mostly because of that. It is because I am processing what's going on, and I most likely need more information before I come up with my own like thought, my own opinion on the matter. I like to be informed, and I want to be informed for you guys because I know that that's what you guys expect out of me. I hope. In any case, I'm so excited to bring in our next guest, and I hope you guys are too. He is a licensed clinical social worker here in New York. He has his own private practice. We're going to get into, the therapy world and all that good stuff. You might have also seen him back in the day in a little show called One Girl, Five Gays, where he provided actually kind of hot takes, I guess, a little bit, and opinions and stuff like that. We'll ask him more about what that experience was like. And he is the host of the podcast That Sounds Hard, where each season he will be focusing on one specific topic. And season 1 on his podcast will be focusing on heartbreak. So your boy's going to be tuning in and listening to that. Please welcome to your hearts, Dean McArthur.
Hi, Omar.
Hi, welcome. I was saying earlier, I love your background. I keep calling them trees. They're plants.
Yeah.
They're like immediately coming for me just to see.
Oh, thanks. There's a lot of plants in my house. I don't have a green thumb, but if you get enough of them, like some will survive.
Yeah, survival of the fittest, kind of.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember how we met, or the first time we met. Was it through like social work club or something? Weren't you a part of like the NASW, like New York City chapter for a hot second? Am I making that up?
We ran into each other there, but we had, you really don't remember this.
Yeah, wait.
This
is so funny. Yeah.
The answer is like not safe for work.
Yeah. We can bleep it out. Wait, how did we?
We met at, I actually know the name of it, but like we met at some club.
Yeah.
And
Oh, thank you, Dean. We will be editing that part out, but but it's good for me to know. I'll probably like do this thing where I'll like bleep it all. I kind of want them to know that we talked about it. But
Yeah.
but like y'all don't need to know. You can you can guess if you want. That's so funny. But then later on we ran into each other and
reconnected at
social
like
work club.
a social work union.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. So how long have you been doing private practice so far? It's still relatively newish for you?
I've been in private practice for like 2 years. And I'm not an American citizen. And so I working at a clinic that was sponsoring me as a Canadian.
Awesome.
And so a couple years ago, I finally went through the next stage of immigration and then was able to open my own practice. So it was like, it really felt like I was sort of waiting in the wings to come out with that for a long time.
Yeah. How was the schooling for you before finally getting your license and all of that? Like that part.
Social work school?
Social work school, yeah. How was that?
Yeah. I loved it.
I have like pretty fond memories. Well, it's a mixed bag. I have memories of the class and the professors really liking, but me crying because I was so stressed out. And like thinking this is taking forever, I'll like never be done with it.
Yeah, it was a lot of work, but it felt like it was such a good fit for me that I felt like I was in the right place. I felt confident about it. I very bizarrely went to Yeshiva University. I'm not Jewish. And so I was in classrooms with like predominantly Orthodox people.
Also going for social work.
Also in for social work. And like social work school, you end up talking a lot about what is life like how do problems present themselves?
Totally.
How do we handle them? And so I was among very religious people who saw life through this very specific lens. So it was really, I was a bit of a fish out of water, but that actually ended up being super fascinating to be that up close and personal with people who had such a different life than I did.
Right. I bet. And so fast forward, you go through social work school, you graduate, you take the licensing exams, yada, yada. First 2 years private practice. How are you feeling? How has it been going? What's been coming up? Any like particular surprises? Is there anything about it that you're like, oh shit, I did not see that coming? Or does it all feel very like, yep, I sort of figured this is how it was going to be?
It is a lot. It is a lot how I figured it was going to be. Like it does feel like the dream came true. Like I feel very actualized in it, and like I'm very obsessed with my office. Because I was waiting for so long to get going. When I finally got the office, I was like, I'm really doing this. And so it's like a decorating project that I care a lot about. And the work has gone very well. You know, when you're in a clinic setting, you have to see so many people a week. The clinic I worked at, the full-time expectation was 35 kept sessions a week.
Wow.
And I don't know if to a listener that sounds like a big number, but
that's a lot. For anyone who isn't sure, that is so much.
It's so many. And then on top of that, you're like in training programs and like postgraduate environments trying to learn how to actually do the job. And so and you're in your own therapy and you're probably in couples therapy. and so it's taken up a lot of space in my life.
And that's not including the admin work for those 35 kept sessions that you're seeing at the clinic. That's not including like the paperwork, which that in and of itself is a part-time job, just like keeping charts, keeping records, keeping notes, like all of that is so much. And it's a lot of tedious work. It's obvious. It's my least favorite part. I don't know about you, but yeah.
It's unbearable. You write this note about a session that no one is ever going to see.
Right.
And you can't actually make it. Like I have my own like writing about clients that I find useful. And like, that's part of my practice. But the medical record documented note is this like arbitrary, pointless bit of digital bureaucracy that gets sent out into a digital abyss. and you have to do it.
Yeah.
It's very important, but it's not important like materially. Like no one's going to look at it ever again.
Right. Yeah.
Probably.
It feels like just a formality or some like old policy that maybe once upon a time was relevant, but doesn't seem all that relevant anymore. Yeah.
My poor loved ones who have like the amount of hours I've also spent complaining about like, I wonder what they imagine that these notes are like, but like the amount of time I've spent being like, oh, my notes, I'm so behind in my notes. I'm so stressed out.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to have some older people like reality check me about that stuff. Like my first therapist at the time when I started working was like he was like, there's a tension between what you are doing with the clients and what this clinic needs in terms of documentation. And that's never going to go away. Like you can't resolve this tension. So just like do the best you can.
Yep.
But you have to remember why you're showing up to work. And I had to like return to that.
All the time. Yeah. And I mean, the clients, because I've worked in a clinic too. For anyone that doesn't know, usually after social work school, you do not go right into private practice. I mean, there are a few exceptions of folks that join a group practice like right after social work school. But the vast majority of us join or are employed in like some kind of clinic serving usually pretty underserved population. So for me, I was working with the HIV population that were kind of at or below the poverty line. And similarly, that was Gay Men's Health Crisis, GMHC. Yeah. So it was free therapy, which was great. Like the concept I love, free therapy for people that couldn't afford, full fee traditional therapy in any other setting. But what that comes with is what you're talking about, this bureaucracy, all this red tape, all these sort of like state, local, federal expectations about what, a note needs to look like, regardless of whether or not it's relevant or helpful, doesn't even matter. It's like, no, you're going to keep this client's chart in this particular way just because we've been doing it since the 80s. That's like basically it. And it would drive me insane.
Yeah, I could really bore your listeners and get on my soapbox about like how this system is backwards, but I'll spare them. But I know you know.
Well, if anyone wants to hear, feel free to message Dean and be like, please tell me, talk to me about this system because he's right. Yes.
I love talking with new social workers, freshly graduated social workers about how to navigate this because I just have spent a lot of time because of that immigration situation. I spent a longer time in a nonprofit thing, way longer than most people do. So I really like, because people were helpful to me in that moment. I really like being able to share what I know with young social workers.
That is one of the things, and I'm sure it's not limited to social workers, but one element of being a social worker that I've found is how many people have been willing to be so helpful to me when I was like a baby social worker. So that's something I feel very much like paying it forward. So I feel the same way with new social workers. I'm like, please pick my brain. I'm like bothering them. I'm like, let's hang out and ask me every question that you have. Like ask me anything, because it was those conversations, whether with, my own supervisor or a colleague, it was those conversations that helped me like sort of stay the course and also just like kind of have a better sense of what I was doing. Because half the time I'm like, what is going on? So yeah, that was super helpful. Are you seeing individuals only? Are you doing couple or open to
couples?
Okay, cool.
I do. Probably like a third of my caseload is couples work.
Oh, nice. Oh, great. Okay. I can like 3 couples max at a time. I mean, I enjoy the work. It is, to no one's surprise, draining for me, especially like after a couples session. I'm usually like, whew, okay, like I need a minute, like recuperate from that most of the time.
There's so much to pay attention.
So much. Yeah. I think, and that's like a big part of it too, right? Is that my attention is split doesn't quite I don't quite mean split because it implies that one person is not getting 100%. But for lack of a better word, my attention is split.
They're not all the time. Like there often is someone who's like more in their feelings about a particular thing. And so you attend to that person, but you have an eye on the other one. And it's a lot.
Right. Especially that you just, for obviously audiences can't see this, but like Dean just did something with his eye where he's like, moved it to the side to be like, I got my eye on you, which is exactly how I feel. I almost feel a little like, almost like I'm not spying on you. I am just like keeping an eye on you. So like, I hope, I'm like, I always wonder what the client on the other end thinks. And then I sort of got my answer because I'm in couples therapy and I notice our couples therapists do that. And I'm like, oh, it's so funny. It makes me giggle inside a little bit. It makes me giggle because I'm like, oh, yeah, you're keeping an eye on me. Like I see what you're doing. Like that is what you're supposed to do. But it's kind of funny because it's almost like my partner's talking, she's looking at him, and then just a split second, her eye moves over to me, and I'm like, I'm still here. Don't worry. Like, I'm not rolling my eyes. Don't worry. I'm listening. Right. So it's interesting to be on the other side of that.
Yeah. Do you like her, your couples therapist?
I love her. I love her so, so much. We both do. Me and Mike adore her. She's so good. I actually brought this up in a session once because I thought it might be relevant. Just like to tell your therapist if there's like a very strong feeling or sensation you're experiencing about your therapist, transference, right? That's like really important to talk about with your therapist, especially if you think like this might impact how the sessions go and stuff, transference and countertransference, all that good stuff. So I was telling her that I found myself in our sessions being like, wait, am I a bad therapist? Because she's so good. I'm like, wait, am I shitty? I'm a shitty therapist. Like, oh, I wouldn't have thought of that, or I didn't think about it that way. And then, for me personally, I automatically go into, oh, this must mean you're not that good of a therapist sort of thing, which is like, not true. But I was like, oh, I feel like it's important. I should just like tell you. Sometimes this is going on in my mind. Like I'm not even really present in what we're talking about. I am oh, she did that really well. I don't do that. I must be really bad at that. And then like, I like go into a little spiral. Yeah. And so
doesn't that happen to you also in like, if I'm in a classroom and some really smart other therapist is like describing a technique or a case, like when people are doing case presentations, they'll arrive, usually they've picked something that they know very well. Yes. And so they're like bringing you in the ins and outs of the relationship. And you can just feel like, oh my gosh, this person is like doing such deeper work than me. They're so much more skilled I will say, not to be that bitch. In school, I will say, I kind of felt like I was one of the best students. So, so you were the one making other.
Yeah. At least, I mean, in my mind, I was like, I'm killing it in school. In terms of the work itself, the time management, I was like, I am doing so poorly at this, but that's besides the point. But in the work itself, I felt like I didn't feel that much. Now, interning, that's when that started because you intern with other employed, like full-time social workers, therapists who have been doing it for, some of them have been doing it for, a decade. By the time you enter the internship, some of your colleagues there have been doing it for like a decade. So that's when I was like, oh shit, like I really have a lot to learn. But in school, I was like, I'm smoking these bitches. No, they were all great. They were great.
I think that whole setup is really brings to mind for me what I like about the profession, which is like you have these moments of confidence when you're like, I've got this. Yeah. I'm really being useful to someone. Yeah. That's an amazing feeling. And then the next day you can feel like, oh, there's still so much to learn. And I'm so happy. I mean, I'm sure there's lots of professions like this, but I'm so happy to be doing something that I get to work on and strengthen over time. Yeah,
especially because it's something that I'm genuinely fascinated by.
Yeah.
It's something that inspires genuine curiosity. I legit want to know how one's brain works, like how pathology works or how their neurobiology works. So when a client is talking to me about something and I feel like I'm not quite it's like not clicking for me yet. Maybe it's usually with new clients. I feel this way because I'm just like getting to know them. That is what I love about this profession is that I never feel I rarely feel like, oh, I'm stuck and I'm bad and I don't like this. It's more like, ooh, I don't understand what's going on. I'm really excited to learn about what's going on. Let me reach out to colleagues, maybe do like a group supervision, a peer supervision. Let me talk to my therapist about it. And it feels like a mystery to solve. I don't know. So
totally.
It feels like kind of exciting and thrilling in that way. So similar to your point, I'm very grateful that this is a profession where when I'm stumped by something is when I'm like excited because I'm like, oh shit, this is like something I don't know about. This is a mystery to solve.
Totally.
So you have some history with it being on television. Tell me a little bit, for those that may not know, talk a little bit about what the show that you were on and sort of like what it was about.
Yeah. So I'm old enough that I was on a TV show that was essentially about what do mostly white gay guys think? Cis men. And that was a whole show. That could be a whole show.
That was a whole show. Yep.
And for better or for worse. But it was called One Girl, Five Gays, and it was on, as I said, I'm Canadian. It was on MTV Canada, and it was a panel show where there was a stable of like 20 gay guys, and a straight woman host, and so each episode was some configuration of 5 of those men answering 20 questions about love and sex. So it was like a chat show, and the questions were like, are you like, it was gay low hanging fruit stuff, like are you bottom or a top, or like
are you open? What do you think about open relationships?
Open relationships, stuff about sex and dating. And so I worked in TV. I worked for the parent company of the company that owned MTV Canada.
Gotcha.
And so a friend of mine I had worked on this like entertainment news show with moved to MTV, and he was pitching this gay talk show. And so that's what it was. I will tell you that was originally my show. This is like very Vicky Gunvalson of me, but that was I was supposed to be the host of that.
No way.
There was like one day when it was like, my friend Garrett was like, I'm going to make the show. I want you to be the host. Like, and it was like call in, it was advice. It was like, there was different forms of it. But then at some point it was like, this is not yours. You're like one of these guys. And so that was like a bit of humbling for me. And so the host was this woman named Malia Jasmine, and she would act. So she was like, didn't know gay guys. So like the gag was like, we're shocking her with our, depraved minds.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. What are some, so like, I feel like you were yes, there were a stable of 20 guys. I feel like, and this could be just totally me being biased, I feel like you were one of the ones that were on there the most out of all the 20 guys, or was it like really even? Like everyone was on 5 episodes.
It wasn't. I think they tried to like mix it up. So it was about like getting different configurations of people together.
Right.
And then there were also sort of across time, like there was a subtext of like certain storylines, like people who didn't like each other or people who had some conflict in the past or like that kind of thing. And so I don't really know what went into the selecting of it, but I certainly felt like I got to do it a lot.
Yeah.
But it was also like we shot it on Friday. Initially, it was on Friday nights for like, we like literally were not paid.
Amazing.
And so it wasn't it was like, who's available, I think, too.
I see.
Like,
okay. That makes sense. That's fair.
and I was the right.
You're like, Friday night, I'm free, baby.
Yeah.
Let's do
It
this.
was truly like the pre-drink. Like you would go and shoot this show and we're like,
let's go out after kind of thing.
Yeah. And then one time I remember being in the green room for it once and we're like, you would get there and there would be this bottle of vodka and like a bunch of Red Bull. And I remember one of the other guys saying once, MTV making money off of drunk minorities since 1991. And I was like, yeah, that actually...
That sounds about right. Yeah, that tracks. What are some of the more memorable moments for you? Like when you think back to that time, what sticks out to you? What comes to mind?
Yeah, for anyone listening, I wasn't like the villain of that show, but I was not one of the more like nice, beloved people. I was like a little bit the social conscience. So I was like wagging my finger at people if they said something that I found offensive and people didn't really like that. And because I had come into it being like, this is mine. Like I like you in those classrooms, I can run a little grandiose.
Yeah. and thank you.
And I really like positioned myself that way in that group. So I remember trying to be like, okay, you're I like having to check myself and be like, you're not better than anyone. Like you're all just doing this together. Mm-hmm. So like, go do it. And so I tried my best to do that, but I did not always succeed.
Okay.
But it was really fun. Like we did an episode, like an anniversary episode once with an audience. And they really like packed out the studio with like just hundreds of people. And that was a really crazy feeling that
must have been wild. Yeah.
Confronted with like
an audience of that size.
And so that was great. It was just fun to shoot. Like we just like came in and ran our mouths and that was enough.
Had some vodka Red Bulls, came in, and just gabbed essentially.
So that was great. I did it with a few of my people who were already very close friends. And so
lovely.
That was a fun experience to share. And so that was really cool. It was fun around, when that was on TV, I used to feel very famous during Pride in Toronto because all of these like teenage girlies from the suburbs would come into the city to like walk over. There's like, Toronto has like a true gayborhood in a way that is like very charming. I haven't been there in a while. I hope it still exists. I'm sure it doesn't exactly in the same way, but you would like walk around that neighborhood and I would feel like very famous for one day. And that was really fun.
Yeah. Like girlies running up and be like, oh my God, Dean.
Yeah. And I love that.
And this was before I'm trying to place where social media was at this point. Where was it actually? Do you remember?
I was like big on Tumblr.
Okay. So there was there was a social media presence. Okay, gotcha. Tumblr.
And
hell yeah.
So Tumblr was a thing. I miss Tumblr. That was like such a fun form of social media. And so a little bit I got to engage that way, but it still wasn't really what social media is today. So I had Twitter. And I remember I had like a lot of Twitter. My Twitter, I don't think exists anymore, but like I had a lot of followers
on Twitter
at one point. And so I could do that and that was fun. But I didn't have I had no sense of like sort of like branding myself or like turning that into any professional thing. I was like very naive about that. We had a meeting at some point a couple years into it where other guys were like confronted the producers and were like, we're not getting to do the kinds of things we want to do. And they were talking about, I remember their complaints were like wanting to do like a magazine interview or like a club appearance. And that had to be run through the company communications. And so I remember the guys feeling like very frustrated. They couldn't do this thing. And I had worked in Canadian television, like it's a very small market. I knew that this was not the thing that was going to launch some other career.
Gotcha.
And so I was like, I don't really care about this. Like, I don't really think it's like we're on MTV Canada at midnight. Like I don't really think this
isn't our launching pad
it's
necessarily.
Not season one Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Like
right.
But I do think that I think I lacked a bit of imagination, and people were getting a whiff of the idea that they could be influencers, but we didn't have that word even.
No, and so, right.
So the social media thing was like, I didn't have Instagram. And so I think we were a little bit ahead of any opportunities that way. So it was really like a TV show. And that's where it led.
My sense was that the TV show itself, like, granted MTV Canada, but my sense was that it was like really popular. As an audience member, it felt very popular to me. And this is just me in my own brain. I'm like, by the time it gets to my eyeballs, it must be popular enough. Like, it must be a thing by the time it reaches like me, if I'm like sitting down or watching it. Because I'm not like, I don't necessarily have like my finger on the pulse of trends or whatever. So I'm like, oh, by the time it gets to me, this must be like huge, you know.
It did well enough that, so where did you watch it? On Logo?
Yes. Yeah.
So it did well enough that Logo bought it in the US and distributed it here. And that in Canadian entertainment, that's like, to get into the US market is a big deal.
Sure.
So it was successful enough that happened.
Yeah.
And I don't think that was like a big moneymaker, but it was certainly an achievement.
Yeah.
And I still will, I mean, it happens way less now. Sometimes I'm lucky enough that it happens in front of my boyfriend, who's much better than me. And then I feel really cool.
Yeah.
But where someone usually like now they're like 30 but young queer people coming up and being like, oh my God, I saw you on that show. And when we were making it, people would say this, like when we were really gassing ourselves up, we would be like, well, the good thing about this is there's like some queer kid in a basement in Idaho or whatever. And they're going to know because of this show that gay people, queer people exist wherever they're from. And I now meet that kid, that hypothetical kid. I meet sometimes.
Who is like a full-blown adult now, telling you like, oh my gosh, I used to watch your show in my basement in Idaho.
I had to like.
That's really cool. Yeah.
So that's really there was like some kind of reach for a really specific demographic. Also, like proto fag hags were like glued to that.
I bet. Oh, I bet. I mean, that's kind of how the show was structured a little bit, right? Like there was the straight woman,
the girl,
right? The girl. I don't know why I used air quotes, but like whatever. The girl in like a room full of gay men. Like, gabbing and laughing and talking about sex and love and dating and all that, like juicy kind of like almost like gossip, almost, not quite.
Yeah, no, it was gossipy, but also, and you're right, that the dynamic between a straight woman and gay guys was built into the whole.
Yes, for sure. So what made you think that you were sort of not the villain, capital V villain, but like what makes you think that that's sort of the way that you were on the show? How did people say
message board? It's like I literally would like go. There was this. Do you remember Television Without Pity?
No.
It was a message board about. It was maybe a blog that had also a message board, but there were message boards, and that show had one, and I would read them, and they would be like, that guy's so full of himself. And then like, every like eighth comment with someone being like, I think he's actually smart, or like, no, he's funny. But like a lot of it was like, I don't like that guy. And so, direct feedback was how I learned that. And that's okay.
I mean, and during that time, because social media was not what it is now, I mean, I imagine that must have been new to experience. Like now, you know, one of the things that I am sort of bracing myself for now is when I launch this podcast for somehow, not that I, I've already told myself, like, do not look at comments, don't fish for comments, like, don't do that. But like, there's only so much that you can shield yourself from. So now I like talk to myself, and I'm psychologically preparing myself for that because of what I know. Like, when I think Drag Race fans are a good example of that, of like, people have really strong opinions and they will let you know how they feel and they will tear you apart if they want to. So I'm like, I see it. Back then, you didn't really see that. There was no like, oh, it's like that other person that got really terrible comments and like, maybe I can learn from them, or I can learn from the way like they handled it. You didn't have that. So how in the world did you navigate that or cope?
I think I was truly just like, because the coping strategy was this superiority, I was like, shield it. I was like, it was like, it's fine. It's like, yeah, I am. That is what I'm doing. I'm like being a bitch on the show. And, and like, what about it?
Yeah. And, good for you.
And so I think I was just like, it was naturally fine. And
that's impressive. I think I would have crumbled under that amount of scrutiny. So I am impressed by your ability to say to yourself, well, like, yeah, that is what I'm doing. And I'm confident in that. And that's like, I'm very clear yes, that I am doing a version of that. And maybe you don't get it, but
what hurt more, like, I wasn't so hurt by those descriptions, but what hurt more was actually that I was like maybe jealous of ways that other people were like more beloved. And that was like, and like people who I didn't, and I think about this sometimes when I'm watching like Bravo or whatever, like, who is a compelling television character? Like, who can turn themselves into someone that seems sweet and watchable?
Okay.
That doesn't always necessarily mean that in real life, that person is like a cool person you want to be friends with.
Of course.
And so I was like, it hurt a bit that like, that certain people who I was like, oh, but I think I'm like, I would get my ego in that. I think I'm like more fun than this person, or
like nicer.
It's like, but everyone loves them. And like, that's like very clear that was not me. And so that hurt a little bit, but there was just like also the narcissism of like being put on television was probably also protective.
You mean like, I'm on television, I don't care what you fools have to say,
truly, kind of. Yeah. It was like, I'm on TV, and which I love. For people listening don't know this, I love television. And so I've just have been obsessed with it my whole life, like not such a unique thing, but I truly love it. And so it was a dream coming true that way. So it felt, and like things in my life were going well enough, I think. But like my anxieties at that time, this is like my late 20s, were like, am I going to get a good enough boyfriend? Like, I was like so worried about like boyfriends that like, that this didn't, it wasn't like they were saying like, oh, he seems like he's like not sexy enough, or he's not smart. Like, none of it seemed to translate to the stuff I was feeling really insecure about. And so it was, I felt, that felt okay.
I don't know if you did this on purpose or not, Dean, but what a great segue into your podcast. The thinking about the boyfriend, the worrying about having a boyfriend. I mean, resonates with me so strongly. I feel that in my soul. In fact, in a recent couples therapy session-ish, somehow the conversation led to me and in my 20s, and basically just like, who was Omar in his 20s, specifically around dating? Like, what did he think about dating and love and sex in his 20s? And the thing that really sticks out to me is the constant worrying about having a boyfriend. And the main goal, really, when it came to love, the only goal was, you need to get a boyfriend. And there was no structure around it. It wasn't like I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to meet a nice boy. I'm going to like go out on like a bunch of dates. I'm going to get to know him. I'm going to make sure that I understand what his values are. I'm going to make sure that we're compatible in like meaningful ways. I'm going to make sure like he pushes me outside of my comfort zone a little bit. But there wasn't that. It was you meet someone, you like them, you hook up, that goes well. Okay, now you're boyfriends.
Yes. And if I've somehow turned myself into a lovable adult,
yes,
then that will work. And I don't really know what the qualities are for that. It seems like it's something to do with professional life, how I look, am I smart enough? Like, I know what I'm worried about, but did I do it? Did I become the right thing? I have no idea, but I'm just going to walk out through the world and hopefully this boyfriend comes.
Yeah. And if said boyfriend doesn't want to be my boyfriend, then I haven't done the thing right. I haven't presented myself in the right way, or like, oh, I didn't like, I didn't figure it out yet.
I didn't figure it out. I didn't become the right kind of adult.
Yes. Yeah. I didn't have the right like mixture of like smart and hot and professional, and like, okay, I need to recalibrate that stuff. I need to figure out like, maybe I need to turn up the dial on like the hotness, or maybe I need to turn up the dial on like the smart, or like whatever, and just like constantly using that as a reflection of like where I was on that scale of like dateable and lovable. Right. Tell our audiences a little bit. Tell our audience. Anyway, tell our audience a little bit about your podcast.
Right. So it's just launched, and it is called That Sounds Hard. I'm the host, and the structure is that each season I'm going to pick a theme that comes up in therapy, and each week I'm going to interview someone who's been through that thing. So for season 1, the subject is heartbreak, and I'm like, maybe this is a heartbreak podcast. Like, maybe I never move on from this subject. My fantasy is in the future, I would do like, there would be one about like psychosis, and I would talk to people about that. Or there could be something about death or depression or, anxiety disorders or something, like different kinds of pathology.
Right.
But I'm like really loving talking to people about this. So maybe this season 1 might be very long.
Yeah. Okay.
I wanted to do seasons because I was like, oh, this seems like a lot of work. Like, how do you build in some breaks? And I was like, well, if it's in seasons, then I can just commit to 12 episodes and then I can take a rest or something. But I'm really enjoying the work of it so much that I don't really know. Those were like my early fantasies about why it was set up that way. And now that I'm in it, I don't know that I need the break, or when the second season is like, when that switch is going to feel necessary. But that's what it is. So I'm talking to people about their experience of heartbreak.
Okay. And heartbreak is I think you could do multiple seasons of heartbreak. It's such an expansive universe. There's so much to cover. I mean, even within heartbreak, because you mentioned death earlier as like, maybe that could be a season. And within heartbreak, there's loss and grief, which is like all so related. So I can see why you would consider, at the very least, having a very long season or doing multiple seasons. What have you been noticing any themes lately? Anything thematic in your conversations with folks about heartbreak? Anything that keeps coming up?
You just said it, actually, which is that I conceived of this thinking, well, I'm going to talk to people about the really specific experience of getting over the losing someone you love, like the loss of a romantic object. But it's really hard to, and in some ways that is its own acute moment. Like, there is something after a breakup that is specific and that ends, but it is deeply connected to every other loss. It is just like, heartbreak is like a circle inside in like the Venn diagram. It's like a circle inside of the larger circle, like completely in the larger circle of just grieving.
Yeah.
And so I thought I could get people just to talk about their breakups, but it brings up all this stuff about death, about mortality. And so that's been a big part of the learning for me.
Yeah. I really... finish your thought.
And that when you ask people who broke your heart, they tell you the truth. Like, Like I'm a little bit trying to like figure out the tone of this. And I'm like, it's like people want podcasts to be funny, right?
Yeah.
Like we got to joke around. But then you're like, oh, who broke your heart? And people are like, well, this guy, he left. Like, you know, they get
Yeah. Yeah.
it is serious stuff.
For sure.
And so we're joking around, sure. But I am really gratified by how willing people are to share about this subject.
What do you think that willingness reflects about us as human beings? The fact that, or do you think this reflects something more specifically about the guests you have, or maybe it reflects something specifically about you and helping people feel so comfortable? But when it comes to heartbreak, this willingness to dive right in and talk about it, what do you think that's about? What do you make of that?
I think it's that the experience is so you can go through it in such isolation, and it's like when you and your boyfriend break up, no one cares about this as much as you do. Like you're like really going through it, and you're really going through it alone. That's why it hurts. It highlights the really tragic and definitive experience of being a human, which is you're born alone and you die alone. Like there's no one else inside your mind. It's just you and you walking this path. That is true. And it's also true that heartbreak happens to everyone.
Yeah.
So there's something isolating and there's something really connecting about it. It shines a light on how dependent we are on each other. And how much we want and need other people. So I think that the duality of that means that when you give someone an opportunity to talk about it, they really want to.
Yeah, that's such a fascinating point. The fact that it feels both really, or it is kind of like a universal experience, but also so isolating at the same time, that it's something that even when one is going through heartbreak, there is some part of you that knows, okay, other people have gone through this, right? Because like you listen to music about it. I mean, that is why there are so many songs about heartbreak. That is why we have rom-coms. That oh, right, people have gone through it. So despite knowing that, yes, other people go through heartbreak, it still feels so uniquely like your pain that it's like, yes, I know Taylor Swift sings about this, but it's not my, you know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't, it's not quite my pain still, or like this pain, it's like unique, or like some element of that still feels very true. So far, people talking about their heartbreak, and is it usually when they talk about how they get over it, or how they, I don't love the term get over it, although who cares? It's fine. but moving through it, right? Like in hearing people move through it, are you also finding that we all kind of do that the same as well? Or are there some stark differences depending on the individual?
What feels universal is that the moving through it just does involve like being in such a state of acute sadness, of just like being so sad, and that no one wants to hear this while it's happening, but it's like actually just by feeling that for longer than you want to, that is how you move through.
Right.
I told my therapist I was doing this project, and she was like, "Oh, you have to read this Judith Butler paper about mourning and like about gay guys dying of AIDS and who's grievable." And I was like, "Wait, what? I don't get what this has to do with what I'm talking about." And I was like, "Interesting, but what?" But there is this Judith Butler paper where she talks about essentially about grieving, but including heartbreak. And she says, I'm not going to put it right, but she says this thing about like, you can't approach heartbreak with like a good work ethic. You have to just submit. Mourning involves submitting to a transformation. That you don't know what's on the other side of the loss. And all you can do is say, I I accept or I relent to this thing that's happening anyway.
Yeah.
And that you come out different, that you're transformed by that kind of grief.
Yeah.
And so how people are changed, what they learn about themselves, that's different. But I do find that everyone does talk about, just really getting their ass kicked by
love. Yeah, for real. I will often tell clients some version of, so I hate to say this, I wish this weren't true, what I'm about to tell you. However, the fact that you are this sad and the fact that you are talking about it with me and just like giving language to this experience and feeling it means that you're doing it, quote unquote, right. Like, this is how this looks, right?
Yeah.
This is, what a healthy, functioning, like psychological immune system looks like. When something sad happens, you feel sad. When something awesome happens, you feel happy. Like, right?
Yeah.
Like, this feeling is relevant to the experience. So you are actually doing this, in the most, again, quote unquote, healthy, functioning way. And I wish it weren't true. I tell them, like, I wish it weren't true. I wish the quickest way to get over it was by like denying the sadness.
Yeah.
Because no one wants to go through it. Or that there was
something that one could, if you just like solve the equation,
oh my gosh,
then it won't be so bad.
Yeah. Do you hear a lot of clients, or maybe even some of your guests, was there a lot of like trying to figure out why? Like, why did this happen?
Yeah.
Like, is there something about me that I need to change? And if I could just put my finger on it, then I can change it. And then I'll be fine. Everything will be fine.
I mean, it's exactly what you were saying before about the boyfriend of it all. Like, if this isn't working out, it's because I wasn't enough in some way. And I think people, I mean, this is like one of the extremely relieving things about being the therapist is you are brought into enough suffering to realize that a lot of the ways that people break our hearts are about them.
Yeah.
That like who we are in relationships has so much more to do with who we are than whether the other person is good enough.
Yeah.
But I think that people largely have that backwards. And so, people do think, oh, I wasn't enough.
Right. Right. And I mean, it's definitely one of the lessons that I try to impart onto clients. It's a lesson I learned at some point. I don't remember exactly when, where I just realized, oh, yes, it's important to like reflect on yourself, right? After a breakup and to ask yourself questions like, what was my part in this? What was my role in this? What did I help co-create? I think that that's like perfectly reasonable. And that there's a lot of acceptance around the fact that so much of it was out of your hands. Also, that this other person is their own person and they are out of your control. They're out of your hands. And there's a lot that you just sort of have to think to yourself, like, okay, like, all right, this also says a lot about them, good, bad, or indifferent, right? This also says a lot about them. And I have no say in that anymore.
Yeah. My current therapist, when we got together, I was taking her through my history of relationships that hadn't worked out. And I was presenting it as if like, okay, here's what's wrong with me. And I was like, I picked this one and then I picked this one and then I picked this one. And I was like, now you know what's wrong with me, right? She was like, I mean, she was like, the only mistake you made in most of these situations is that you stayed. And there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with that. Any of these guys, well, maybe, like fundamentally, but it wasn't working. And then I insisted it should.
Right. I see. Okay. Did that blow your mind hearing that in that moment? Or were you kind of like, was there a part of you that was aware of that?
Both.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's, I guess, often when a therapist reflects something back to me that I'm like, holy shit, I can usually find a really, really quiet voice that's been around for a minute saying the exact same thing. I'm like, okay, you were right, voice. Like, all right, gotcha.
Yeah. There's the last person I interviewed for That Sounds Hard is this guy named Charles Rogers, who is a TV writer. He made that show Search Party.
Oh,
Have
yeah.
you seen it? And we were talking about how in those sorts of moments of like things that are half conscious or unconscious coming to the surface often take place when you're so torn up by a
loss or a lover. Okay. Yeah. That's a good
point. And that we were talking about how like addicted we are to that feeling of like the like aha, that the epiphany.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's
the epiphany is something you like kind of knew.
Right.
But now it's like make it conscious.
Right. Now that someone else has reflected it back to you, it's like concrete. It's like, oh yeah, it's like right in your face. Yeah. Have there been, I mean, not that a conversation around heartbreak has to involve some conversation around hope, but I'm curious if that came up for you, even if it's not necessarily something the guest talked about, but if it's come up for you at all, because I'm hearing about a process of transformation, which my mind immediately goes to like hope, like, oh, that there's something on the other side of this. There's some sort of expansion that happens to someone, hopefully, where they come out the other end different, right? Having experienced something.
Well, I think a lot of what people associate to when you ask them about heartbreak is their first one.
Yeah.
And what people have said is that what's really bad about it is you're doing it for the first time. So you actually don't have hope. Like,
sure.
You don't know.
That is real.
This ends. You just have to buckle down for a while.
Oof, yeah.
That like you and so you it just feels like, well, this is me now. Right. Or like
yeah. Well, I guess I'm sad forever. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, I remember that. Oh, yeah.
And so there's the lack of hope, I think, is baked in. But I hope that listening to these conversations, like my version now of the gay kid in the basement is like sad, broken up with person at home who's like wants to hear more about what they're going through. And so they could find this and listen to other people's stories about like, I've actually been where you are. It doesn't last. Right. And there's hope.
Yeah. There was a client recently who's going through their first like big heartbreak. And it's so, I haven't worked with a client in a really long time who is going through their first heartbreak, like their first big breakup. It's been a minute since that's happened. Most of my clients now are well seasoned, or you know what I mean? Like they've been around these streets, you know what I mean? So like it's like their third, breakup or something like that. And so this is, it's like I forgot how all encompassing that feeling is. And I won't say I forgot. That's not fair. But it was just so, I just hadn't seen it in a while. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so while I knew conceptually that it feels like all hope is lost, seeing it just sort of reminded me of how, like, the depth of that feeling, of that despair.
There was a specific texture to it.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to get people to name that. Like, it does feel specific, right? Like, what is it? And I think that the pain of this is a little bit like, not that I've ever done this, but like giving birth, where it was bad, but you dissociate like right. Exactly in what ways.
Right. And
because why, like they say about having children, if you could remember what it was like, you wouldn't
do it again. Right. Right. Yeah.
So you do kind of, even though you know.
Right. You don't. Yeah. Yeah. And so seeing it before me just helped me really remember the specificity of your first heartbreak and how much despair there is. And again, just like the depth of it, it's just all encompassing. It's overwhelming. And it's so, in an empathic way, it's heartbreaking for me to see, because I'm like, oh, I know that this feels like this will never end. I know how and why it feels that way. And it almost feels like you really, I don't know if you experience this, but with like, when you're working with someone going through heartbreak, timing is especially important. Actually, with loss in general, I find timing to be really important, because I want to be able to share with them or talk to them about the fact that like people recover, and that healing is happening even when you don't think it is, even when it doesn't feel like healing is happening. And I'm always very conscious of when I want to express that to a client, because I also want them, not in like a sociopathic way, but like I also do need them to be sad, right? Like I also do want them to think a little bit less about this will be over one day.
Yeah.
Like, which is true, but I also need you to be like here right now. And I am going to need you to like be sad. And maybe I don't tell you right this second that like you will heal, you will be okay. Maybe I just have to like let you be in this space for a little bit longer before I like talk to you about the fact that this is a process. This is kind of like something you move through, even when it feels just like an eternal like depth, darkness spiral.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be helping people to be avoidant.
Right, exactly.
Feelings, right? And so, yeah, I'm thinking, as you're saying that, I'm like, I hope that what I do is like stand in the feeling with the person, but there's like maybe some look in my eyes of like, it's like, I know so bad, but like, I'm okay.
Yeah,
I'm okay right now. So like, that probably means that you will be at some point.
Right. That's a good way of phrasing it. Like, I hope, yes, I hope in like, in the way that I'm confidently speaking about the process, that they get some sense of, oh, Omar's not freaked out about this. He must see this. This must be like, okay, yeah, that's totally, I think that's like a fantastic approach, because that is, I sort of have this tone in my voice of like, I know, girl, I know it's so bad, and I hear ya, and let's talk about it. And that there's like a way in which I'm shouldering some of this with them that I hope gives off the sense that like, again, that I'm not worried or concerned in any way for their like future and overall mental health.
Yeah. I have worked with people who, and I wouldn't even call I'm thinking of a few things. One, I'm thinking of some people who I have known who have been able to tap into the pain of the death of a loved one for so long.
Yeah.
Like people they lost, like people who lost parents too early, or that kind of thing, that's like right there. Like I've known people who that's like right there. And even then it's like, I'm not trying to help you get over this. Like that's not, of course, what's happening. But there is like in the DSM, like complicated grief. Or there's like an allegedly a way to diagnose grief that went on for too long, whatever that is. But so I'm thinking about that. And then also there's Amy Sedaris. I read this Amy Sedaris interview that was like, I don't remember the structure, but it was like bulleted points about like, what do you know? Or like, what's your advice or something. And she said, always assume that everyone is grieving.
Oh, wow.
And that's like a really intense way to like lead with that. But like, but we are, that's, we're like, as Lana Del Rey said, we're born to die. And so there just is grief it's a big part of this. And so that's what that makes me think of.
That's, I'm not surprised that in a conversation about heartbreak, death and loss have come up, which is really interesting. And again, to your point, that's why the topic of heartbreak is so expansive. It's its own universe. My favorite thing about that topic is how universal it is. It transcends everything that makes us as human beings different about each other, from race and gender to socioeconomic status. Totally. Like it transcends all of that, and it feels like the great equalizer, heartbreak, right? And even if one has never gone through heartbreak, let's say, you've seen a movie about it. You've listened to a song about it. So even if you've never personally gone through it, you are aware of it. You have a sense of like, oh, it's sad. It's a very, very sad thing. And when you see it, you're like, you're like, you go into caretaking mode, right? Like maybe you've never gone through heartbreak, but your best friend has. And even then, you're like, oh, I have to be there for my friend. Like, it's okay. You're going to be okay. Like you go into caretaking mode. And so that is maybe my favorite thing about this topic of yours, which is why I think it's going to like do so well and just resonate with so many people and reach so many people. I mean, it transcends, again, it just brings us back to like basic human experiences.
And we can identify across lines that we otherwise can't normally. Like when people talk about Barack and Michelle breaking up, everyone it's like they're like, suddenly Michelle is just like some girl, you know, and you're like she's mad, tell him it's over. Like you project all this stuff because you're like, oh, they're just people too. Right. It's a couple.
Right.
But I also, you're right. Because we also do know from the start, like when you're first, this is so corny, but like in that final speech in Never Been Kissed, when Drew is running to Michael Vartan, there's a voiceover and she's like, I've never been kissed like in this way. And she's describing falling in love. And she says something like, you're so lucky. You feel so lucky that you found it. And you're terrified
of losing
it. We are that right from the first moment we fall in love. We know we're risking something. And so even if you've never had it taken away, you've never grieved that loss, we just know on some level that we're taking a huge risk by asking someone to love us, by loving them.
The fear around love that I think especially is highlighted through heartbreak, that's just another element that feels totally universal, right? Like even if, again, this is your first time falling in love, one of the first things that you feel is the fear of losing it, right? It's so scary. And again, just so incredibly universal. And I think now, not that we never needed this. I think we always, so let me back a little bit. What I was going to say was, now more than ever, Dean, I think we need a podcast like yours. But actually, I take that back. I think we always need a reminder of how closely connected we actually are. No matter what time period, no matter what's going on in the world, in your country, in your state, in your neighborhood, no matter what, I think it's always helpful to have some piece of media or content like yours that just reminds us, oh yeah, we all do this. We all go through this. We're all connected by this experience, whether or not you've even gone through it yet. We're still all connected by it.
That's so sweet, Omar. I was talking with someone on the weekend, playwriter, and he was like, I don't think people are like talking about love right now. And I was like, yeah, it actually feels like we can't afford the bandwidth for that. Like there's too many things to worry about to be like, oh, am I in love or not? Or like, how's my romantic life going? But it's so I get what he's saying. Like it's this state of the world and people's relationship to politics and all of that. It can feel like that's the only thing to pay attention to, but we also are continuing to live our lives. And that involves romantic relationships. And so I'm into love. I'm into this whole subject.
Yeah. So for the folks listening, we are recording this before the official launch. But I'm so excited. I cannot wait to listen to it. I'm obviously very excited about my episode.
The people who are listening to this should know that we talked about your own experience of heartbreak, and you really spilled the beans about.
You are obviously so good at what you do, because I felt, and clearly other guests have felt the same way, just like so ready to go there with you. And your line of questioning was, I mean, I don't know if you did homework or if you, I don't know what you did, but it felt like you were so prepared with such good questions.
Thanks.
I was really just like kind of like intellectually like electrified by the conversation. I was like, oh, these are such good questions. It's making me think about things I haven't thought of in so long. I loved it. I loved so even if you never aired it, I am still like, I loved our conversation.
Good.
So I'm so excited.
I just feel like there have to be people out there who like, I have a sort of sick relationship to the subject also in that like the romance of all of this, like even the pain of it. And I don't do this, like I really try not to like objectify my clients in their pain.
Of course.
But in my own life, like the romance of the ups and downs, like that adds such an important texture to my life. And like on some level, like feeling sad. I've been like using TikTok because I'm trying to get people to know about this. Have you ever made a TikTok?
I have. Not many. I have like 2 followers on there because I'm like, the bandwidth, I'm like, I don't know.
No, me too. It's a lot. It's like, it's a lot of energy and a lot. I didn't realize how it works until I started posting. And I was like, oh, this is crazy.
Right.
But I started a series about microdosing heartbreak. Because there are just these moments in my life when I encounter something like very beautiful, but also sad, or it's like watching the sunset or whatever, like something gorgeous that is not staying, and as a bittersweet moment, and I just love that shit, and so I'm trying to find the people out there who are into this.
Is the microdosing sadness a version of like building a tolerance for it, or like normalizing it, or something?
I think it's an opportunity to like take a little, like an exposure. Take a little hit and be like, yes, this is scary, but it's also connecting. It's also beautiful. It's also vital. It gives me like a sense of vitality. Like I was driving down, the thought came up as I was driving down the Taconic back to the city from being upstate. It was Sunday. And so I was like feeling the dread. I was feeling like a kind of dread. The weekend's ending and it's so gorgeous out and it's like starting to become fall. And I was just like, this is the microdose of heartbreak where I can just, this is gorgeous and I'm losing it. And this moment won't last forever. And I just
wait, that's kind of iconic. So I experienced that, not surprisingly. I experienced a version of that when I'm coming home from vacation, right? There's a part of me that is happy to be home, that's happy to like come back home. But there's also this element of it that where I'm like sad it's over. And I'm going through all the memories and all the beautiful moments and there's a recognition of, oh, this is like in the past now, that it's done, right? And now it's just a memory. And there is a sadness about that I don't spend enough time with, that you are now helping me realize I could probably spend a little bit more time just sort of acknowledging it and reflecting on just like, what does it mean that I missed this thing now?
It's kind of beautiful.
No, that's brilliant.
Right? And you really fucking feel
for once. Well, because my mind immediately goes to, well, Omar, just like just be grateful, and you know what, you're going to be in your own bed, and I not that that's not relevant, but I spend too much time immediately going to, well, you can't wait to be in your own bed in your own shower, and I'm like, hold on, maybe spend a little bit of time. Like the stakes are so low, I'm not going to unravel by spending a little bit of time being like, just like a little sad, or like let myself miss this thing and acknowledge this moment a little more. I love that.
I have that. You're so right. I get that, not to be such a cliche, but I have that in the Pines on Fire Island when it's the time to leave. Before I get on that ferry, I'm like not okay. And I'm not trying to say that's a perfect place, but like, usually I've had so much fun. I've been in natural beauty for a week. And I feel really anxious. And
of course,
and a lot of dread before the ferry. Once I'm on I've done it enough now that once I know once I'm on that boat, I'm like, okay, it actually is fine.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go back to New York.
Yeah.
Everything's okay.
Right.
But leading up to that is
if I ever see you in line at the ferry, now I know I'm just going to come up to you and hug you. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to hug you and let you be in your feels.
Yeah, there's always like an emotional support sandwich or like Diet Coke or something.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. So again, the podcast, That Sounds Hard.
That Sounds Hard. It's on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. There's also you can follow on, if you want to see these TikToks, I'm struggling my way through. They are at That Sounds Hard Pod on TikTok. And then the Instagram is That Sounds Hard. And it's basically the same content.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that with us and for talking about heartbreak. Yeah, so make sure that you go and listen to That Sounds Hard when it comes out. By the time this episode comes out, I'm sure there will probably be a few episodes, so be sure to listen.
Thanks, Omar.
Again, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. I'm so glad I got to remind you of how we met.
Yeah.
But I have a clearer memory of after that NASW meeting or whatever, talking to you about Buffy on the subway. Like that, I'm like, I can tell you how that conversation went. That like real.
Yes. Yeah. That sounds about right. So, Dean, one question that I love to ask all my guests, I don't know if love is the right answer, but I do like it. But one question that I ask all my guests is, what is one thing from the therapy world or mental health world that you take with you everywhere you go? So it could be something from a podcast. It could be something from your own therapist, a book you read, a professor you had. What is something from the therapy world that you're like, I take this with me everywhere I go. I like live by this rule.
Okay, that is because there's the sort of like gems that I've collected in the therapy, right? And those are things I deploy sort of like at specific moments in a treatment or with a friend or whatever, or with myself. But you're saying, what are the things that apply to like, this is like in the fabric of my being all the time?
Either or. So I love that you made a distinction between that because I do the same thing. There are some things that are sort of just a constant thread in my life, like a gem I'm constantly reminding myself of. And then there are some gems that I deploy during very specific times. So whatever you feel compelled to share with us, either there's no wrong answer.
Okay. So the thing that I think I say the most in a treatment is, and this relates to what we've been talking about with dating and love. And I think I said this to you when we were talking when I interviewed you for That Sounds Hard. But I had a therapist say to me once, I was like newly single and flipping out about that. And he was like, okay, here's the deal. There's a large circle of people that you are interested in, and they're not interested in you. There's an equally large group of people that are into you, and you don't want them. Somewhere in the middle, the Venn diagram overlaps, and there's a much smaller group where it goes both ways. And these are the only people you need to worry about. I think it's true of dating and just kind of generally. Like,
yeah, for sure. And like friendships, like all of it. Yeah. Any relationship.
Yeah. Really, and I found that so relieving. And so when I'm dating, it's so easy to get distracted by the ungettable person who doesn't know you're alive or someone who's like breadcrumbing you or whatever. And
so you find is it relieving because it sort of, does it take the pressure off, or is it more like relieving because it helps you focus in on the people that quote unquote matter?
It does. Yeah.
Right.
The second, like it helps me focus on what matters. And it also then is not this game of like trying to either extend myself to someone who it doesn't feel natural to be interested in, or that I'm trying to like prove something to someone who doesn't really see me as an option. And,
sure.
And that like when it's right, it will feel more in between. Like it'll feel more mutual. And around that same time, I will give, this is like my bonus tip. is that around that time, the same guy was like, I really care about romantic partnership and that's really important to me. And he was like, no, it's not. And I was like, my therapist said that. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm certain that this is a priority for me. And he was like, if this was really important to you, I'd be hearing about way more bad dates.
Whoa. Okay, you just blew my mind.
Because I wasn't trying. I was like, what I actually cared about was like laying around, being like, for me, I'm not, no one loves me, but like, but I wasn't really walking the walk at all. I just had a lot of complaints.
Whoa. I love that. That is, first of all, it just cracks me up anytime someone shares something with me, a moment when their therapist kind of like clocks them like hard, where they're just like, no, I'm going to stop you right there. You don't really care about that, or you're certainly not showing it behaviorally.
The same person once. Of all of the annoying defensive tics I have, I was deploying one sort of like very clunkily and that I'm sure is grating to everyone. And he looks at me and he's holding a coffee and he's like, I just fantasized about throwing my hot coffee on you. Holy shit. And this is, he like, we knew each other very well at this point.
Of course, this wasn't session 2.
It was like in the context of, a very deep and loving relationship. But he was like, he basically was like, fuck off. Like you're still doing this.
This again, girl. I thought we worked past this already. That is so funny. I feel like that reflects such a cool, lovely, intimate thing about y'all's relationship that happened, and that obviously you stuck around because you're like, okay, you got me.
If you're looking for a white gay therapist, Lawrence Schwartz, he's in Manhattan, and I like can't recommend him.
That is so great. And so I respect that a lot. Thinking about the Venn diagram and making sure that you are focusing on the part in the middle, the folks that you like and the folks that like you back. It reminds me of something that I say to myself. I've shared this with friends and clients. When I was dating, and this took time for me to get to, but one of my prerequisites was, you need to be obsessed with me. Now, I'm speaking hyperbolically because that's how I talk to myself. And it's like, it makes me giggle and it helps me not take myself too seriously because I'm like, that's so funny. But more realistically, what I mean is like, you have to be into me. Like you have to be into me. You have to show some level of like excitement that you are spending time with me, that you're getting to know me. Again, you don't have to throw a parade, but I have to have a sense that you are genuinely interested and intrigued and kind of excited to get to know me and spend time with me. And so that's what I mean by that. Like, no, you have to be into me. Sorry. Like, rule number one.
Totally. But that's actually somehow not obvious in practice. Like, it's like, if only I just get their attention in this way or stick around long enough or something. But like, if someone's into you, like, it really is like, there aren't that many conditions under which it's like, life is not a sitcom where like someone's being held back from expressing their feelings. Like, if they want to hang out, they're going to reach out to you.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, so I really, really love that advice, especially as it comes to dating, because you are right. I think people conceptually, they would think, well, yeah, of course, I should be dating people that want to date me. But in practice, like you said, it does not communicate in practice a lot of the time. No. So I really hope someone takes what you just shared with us and starts to ask themselves, like, how am I actually applying this? Because if you're finding yourself jonesing for the attention of some aloof person that's like, doesn't care whether you live or die, you're not applying.
All you can imagine is chasing the person who doesn't want you or settling for someone that you're uninterested in, you might be organized narcissistically.
Wait, that's so helpful. If you can only imagine chasing this person, or if you are only imagining settling for someone that you're not interested in, this is your sign. Stop doing that.
I speak.
You might be organized.
I speak from experience.
Thank you so much, Dean. I really appreciate it. And I mean, when it comes to dating tips or mantras or advice or whatever, I think people really, really gravitate towards those. They're so hungry for that. And, for good reason. Everyone wants to find
Everyone's
love,
looking for love, and
dating,
it's so scary out there. It's
these streets. These streets. Yeah. One time a client referred to these streets as ghastly, and I was dying laughing. I was like, that's exactly right. As you know, I am a therapist, but this podcast is no substitute for good old-fashioned therapy. So take what's useful, leave the rest, and don't forget, therapy makes you hotter. Bye.
Love that.